Okay, Niner faithful. This one should not take too long as the 49ers, I believe, only had 5 picks. So let's get into it with their 2 first-round picks, in which their first one was the 14th overall pick, where they drafted Javon Kinlaw, defensive tackle out of South Carolina. I gave this pick a C+. To me, Kinlaw, he didn't really stick out while he was at South Carolina, especially in a very impactful way on the game. So, but maybe that was just me. I know there was a lot of buzz around Kinlaw coming into this year's draft as one of the better interior defensive linemen. However, I think his impact plays, while they are nice, I do think that he shows too much inconsistency, and I feel like instead of playing the game more consistently and technologically and instinctually, and playing a smart, sound football, I feel like he plays like a wild brand of football, very physical, using his dominant athletic and physical traits rather than, like I mentioned, the techniques, the instincts, and just playing a smart game. So that basically leads it to the biggest downside is I think that he really just lacks discipline and control, hand and foot control, and it's all sloppy. And instead of using moves and counters, really just kind of comes at you like a wild horse. So I do think his lack of technique and discipline are going to limit his consistency in the NFL, as I think some teams will be able to easily limit him from getting into the backfield. But every once in a while he'll have that burst and it'll be a big play. But just the lack of consistency overall is what I am not a fan of. And I do think that the lack of technique and discipline, while they're, I think, going to limit him, I also think that his hip injury that he had last year is going to limit him as well, as that is one of the harder injuries to come back from. So that's not a plus either. Furthermore, I'm really not a big fan of the position we drafted for with our first pick, and I feel like that our biggest needs were more in the secondary rather than on the front. So that was my opinion of that, and so that's why I gave it a C+. That takes us to their second and final first-round pick, in which they drafted Brandon Ayuk with the 25th overall pick, wide receiver out of Arizona State. I gave this pick a B+ because Ayuk was not the best wide receiver available when we drafted him, and I really don't think he possesses game-changing speed, strength, or size. However, he does have some positives, and I think, what was hard to deny is his running after catch ability. I'm pretty sure last year he was known as the Yak yards after king. So he was very good with the ball in his hands after catching the ball. Really was able to make some big plays. I think this year overall for the Niners he'll have modest production. I don't think he'll take the Niners offense to the next level, but it'll be nice to have. I think he'll be able to get us some first downs and spark some big plays to get the offense going. He does need to polish some things, but I like the hands and the ability to get the contested catches. And some of the things he does while running his route are nice as well. Although overall some parts of his games do need polishing, but not a terrible pick. That's why I gave it a B-. So not a bad one for the Niners. They did not have a second, third, or fourth round pick, which takes us to their fifth round, 153rd overall pick, Colton Mikovits, tackle out of West Virginia. I gave this pick a B. Mikovits plays hard, and he is very experienced, as he was a 4-year starter at West Virginia. However, you wish he had the better length to match the strength and technique that he possesses. But I really think he'll be able to be a reliable backup at the very least, and that's never a bad thing, as the 49ers really get banged up on the offensive line sometimes. So it'll be good to have a reliable backup to go in and play some downs when somebody's tired or a little banged up. So not a terrible pick for the Niners in the 5th round, which takes us to they had 2 picks remaining. So we'll start with the 6th round, 190 overall pick. Charlie Warner, tight end out of Georgia. I gave this pick a C minus. Not really projected to be drafted, and so I think it was a little bit of a reach. And not only that, but although he has got decent blocking abilities, he's just really not a pass catching guy. He's rarely had any experience in the receiving game. So I don't really see the need to draft him, as I really don't know the value he brings to the table. Rarely you stick out a tight end that can only just block and rarely really not even have any threat in the pass catching game. So I'm not a fan of that pick. Perhaps they might move him to fullback. That's one of the things I've heard. So not the worst pick in the world, but I failed to see the need in the 6th round, especially when I feel like we still have some needs that we could have filled. 7th round, 217th overall, they picked Juwan Jennings, wide receiver out of Tennessee. I gave this pick a C minus. To me, Jennings kind of lacks the athletic traits needed to get open and make plays in the NFL. And that's just overall, he's not good enough to play middle school, high school, college. I don't think he's going to have what it takes to do it in the NFL. However, look for Shanahan's offense to be his really only hope of getting open and getting into space, which is there. Maybe that'll help him, but overall, I don't see him having much of an impact, and down the road, probably eventually not having a very long career. So overall, for the 49ers, I did give them a C+, because I just thought the drafting could have been better, and thus I'm disappointed in San Francisco once again with their drafting abilities. I think there were certain needs that we should have addressed, and we didn't do that, and so that's why I just gave him a C+, really. And even some of the picks where we tried to fill some needs, I thought we weren't really drafting guys where the potential is great, or at year one, man, look out. So I didn't really see the home run talent and the potential talent that I would have liked to see at least in 1 or 2 picks. Ayuk, not bad, and and the lineman, not terrible, but some of the other picks, especially in those last rounds, you don't just give up. Try and find a guy you think has some potential, or maybe the athletic traits to have some potential. And I didn't see that from San Francisco's drafting this year. So overall, I gave them a C+, and that does conclude our 2020 NFL Draft Analysis. I know it's been a long stretch, so thanks for bearing with me, and thanks for watching my draft analysis, and thank you. And any feedback, criticism would be gladly accepted in the comments. So thanks for watching again, and we'll see you next week.